This story is a work of fiction. Names, places, and events are imagined for storytelling purposes. Any resemblance to real people or situations is purely coincidental. The knock came at exactly 2:17 a.m. Not loud, not desperate, just 3 slow, careful taps, like someone afraid of waking a sleeping house, or of being turned away. Ethan Cole sat up on the couch, his heart instantly racing. The TV was still on, casting pale blue light across the small living room. He hadn't meant to fall asleep there again, but exhaustion had won, as it always did. Single fatherhood didn't come with off days. Especially not when your 5-year-old son had nightmares almost every night. The knock came again. Ethan muted the television and listened. Outside, rain whispered against the windows. The streetlight across from his house flickered, throwing shadows that stretched and shrank like nervous thoughts. "Dad," a small voice murmured from the hallway. Ethan turned to see Noah standing there, clutching his worn stuffed bear, eyes half asleep and afraid. "It's okay, buddy," Ethan whispered, forcing calm into his voice. "Go back to bed. Daddy's got it." Noah hesitated. "Someone's at the door." "I know. I'll check." Ethan stood, every instinct screaming caution. He hadn't had visitors in years, not since his wife, Lily, died and the world quietly forgot them. He grabbed the old baseball bat from behind the door, his grip tight, his breath shallow. When he opened the door, the rain and cold rushed in. And standing there was a woman who looked like she had already lost everything. She couldn't have been more than 30. Her dark hair was soaked, plastered to her face. Her coat, thin and torn, hung off her shoulders as if it no longer belonged to her. But it was her eyes that stopped Ethan cold. They weren't begging, they were terrified. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, her voice trembling. "I know it's late. I just need one night. I'll be gone by morning. Please." Ethan said nothing. Years of loneliness had taught him how to read silence, and hers was screaming. "I can sleep on the porch if I have to," she added, tears finally spilling. "I just can't stay out there." Thunder cracked overhead. Behind Ethan, the floor creaked. "Daddy," Noah whispered again, peeking around the corner. The woman froze when she saw the child. Something crossed her face, pain, recognition, regret. She looked away like she didn't deserve to be seen. Ethan's chest tightened. He didn't know why he stepped aside. He didn't know why he lowered the bat. All he knew was that some nights, kindness was the only thing standing between survival and surrender. "Come in," he said quietly. "Just for tonight." The woman collapsed into sobs before she even crossed the threshold. Her name was Mara. She barely spoke at first. Ethan handed her a towel, then another when the first soaked through. He offered soup, simple, canned, warm. She held the bowl with shaking hands like it was the most precious thing she'd ever owned. Noah watched her from the hallway, curious and cautious. "She can sleep in my room," Noah said suddenly. Ethan frowned. "Noah, it's okay," the boy insisted. "I can sleep with you." She looked sad. Mara's breath hitched. She covered her mouth, eyes filling again. "No," she whispered. "I don't want to be trouble." "You're not," Ethan said, surprising himself with how certain he sounded. That night, Mara slept in Noah's bed, curled in on herself like a wounded animal. Ethan lay awake on the couch, listening to the storm fade, wondering what kind of danger he'd just invited into his home. But even more, what kind of danger she'd been running from. Morning brought gray skies and awkward silence. Mara tried to leave before sunrise. Ethan found her standing by the door, backpack slung over her shoulder, eyes hollow. "You don't have to go yet," he said. She shook her head. "I do. You already did too much." "Stay for breakfast," Noah called from the table, swinging his legs. "Dad makes funny eggs." For the first time, Mara smiled. Over breakfast, pieces of the truth slipped out, not all at once, and never in a straight line. She'd left an abusive relationship. One with money, power, connections. "He doesn't lose things," she said softly, staring at her coffee. "He takes them back." Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Does he know where you are?" Mara hesitated, then nodded. "Eventually, he will." Ethan thought of Noah, of the quiet life he'd built from grief and routine, of the safety he'd promised his son after losing Lily to a drunk driver who never even stopped. Fear whispered that he should ask her to leave. But another voice, one he hadn't listened to in years, spoke louder. "You can stay," he said. "As long as you need." Mara looked at him like he'd just saved her life. In a way, he had. Days turned into weeks. Mara helped around the house. She cooked, cleaned, fixed the broken cabinet Ethan had ignored for months. She listened, really listened, when Noah talked about school, about his mom, about the stars. At night, after Noah slept, Mara and Ethan talked in hushed voices about loss, regret, and the versions of themselves they no longer recognized. Ethan told her about Lily. About holding her hand in the hospital. About promising Noah that he'd be enough for both of them. "I don't feel strong," he admitted one night. "I just keep going." Mara nodded. "That's what strength looks like. But fear never left completely. Cars slowed too long outside the house. A black SUV appeared twice at the corner. Mara grew quieter, more withdrawn. Then one evening, it happened. A knock. Not gentle this time, loud, demanding. Ethan opened the door to find two men in suits, rainless and cold. "We're looking for Mara Hale," one said, flashing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "She belongs to our employer." Ethan felt something inside him snap. "She doesn't belong to anyone," he said, stepping forward. The men's smiles vanished. "Sir," the other said calmly, "this doesn't concern you." Behind Ethan, Noah clutched Mara's hand. "Yes," Ethan said, "it does." What followed wasn't dramatic in the way movies pretend. It was terrifying. Police lights. Questions. Mara shaking as she finally told everything, about the threats, the control, the fear. About the evidence she'd hidden. About how she'd almost given up, until a stranger opened his door. The men were arrested. The truth, once spoken, moved faster than fear ever could. Weeks later, the house was quiet again. But it wasn't lonely. Mara stayed, not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she had found somewhere she belonged. One night, as Noah slept between them during a thunderstorm, Mara whispered, "You didn't just protect me." Ethan looked at his son. At the woman who had brought light back into their home. "You reminded me," she said, "that broken things can still shelter others." Ethan swallowed hard. He had opened his door for one night. But in doing so, he had opened his heart again, proving that sometimes, the bravest thing a lonely soul can do is choose kindness, even when it's terrifying. And sometimes, saving someone else is exactly how we save ourselves. Kindness doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's a quiet decision made in the middle of the night, by someone who is tired, afraid, and lonely, yet chooses compassion anyway. And in that moment, lives can change forever.